You, kinfolk and skinfolk. For the newbies, you are in the right place. And for the returning friends and family, y'all already know this is the Life Be Lifing podcast. We are hosted by none other than your hostess with the mostest, the squishy thug, the versatile, the beautiful, the wise, the hilarious, Mimi, the goddess.
What up, guys? You guys are right. Squishy gangster. Yolanda's the mushy thug.
My bad, player, my bad. Players fuck up
It's
too.
all good. Players fuck up from time to time.
You know what I mean? Contrary to popular belief, I am not perfect, folks. Um, we have a couple of special guests with us tonight, man. We have my homeboy and man in real life, Mr. Decquan Freeman, here with us tonight. Ma'am, am I allowed to use your last name or do I just use your first name?
My last
I
name.
ain't
Okay,
think
Don't
use
be
the
giving out
government.
Yeah, you feel
governments.
me? But we got the illustrious homie Tommy in the building with us tonight. Yeah, yeah. Tommy, what you got?
Hey.
I mean, you gotta get it right. And they are
Absolutely.
all flanked by none other than your favorite fat freckle man, aka your favorite coach's favorite coach, the big dog himself, Splash Charles. Let's go ahead and get into this topic, man. So, everybody and their mama, as they say on podcasts, we talking about relationships, and one of the versions of relationships is marriage, right? Bunch of varying opinions on it. So we finna talk about the dichotomy of the value of marriage, right? So there's one side that feels like marriage is, it's a formal thing. It's a paperwork thing. You feel me? And that's pretty much the utilitarian use for it. And then there's others who feel like it's more than that, who feel like it's the covenant, who feel like it's an agreement, who feel like it's, more than just a business contract. So we gonna get into that conversation tonight with our two dope and illustrious guests, man. Um, but as always, I'm gonna start with the ladies, starting with my co-host, Mish, Big Mish. You ready?
They ready? So, I'm married. I've been married for 12 years now. And I have said this plenty of times before on 2K215 and our podcast, Like We Like It. I was never one of those females that was interested in being married. I didn't grow up having as I like to call it, fairy tale dream of the, perfect wedding with the white dress and all the guests. That wasn't my thing. I didn't want to have children. I didn't want to be married. So for me, I do err more on the side of it's a piece of paper to me. I don't really need the government in my business to have a, mutual agreement with someone that I consider my life partner. If you ride for me, I'm riding for you. We understand one another emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, intellectually, financially. Then I don't really need a piece of paper and some metal to tell me that we belong together forever. I do feel like it's a business contract as far as I'm concerned. And one thing about being married, per the government, when you do start having problems with your spouse, it makes it just that harder for you to leave the marriage. Like, I live in Maryland, and you have to be separated for a whole year with no physical contact and cannot live in the same residence before they would even potentially look at the possibility of a divorce. Um, yeah, and after 10 years, the female is entitled to half of everything. Doesn't matter what the agreement is, unless you guys come forth with something on paper saying you agree. So, yeah, I think it's a piece of paper at this point. It's not necessary.
All right, let's move to our next young lady on this here podcast, Miss Tommy. Talk to us. Talk to the folk.
Also, I'm from Maryland and know that. there is that legality of you got to be a year apart and all of the things. So I do understand what she's saying, but I don't buy into the notion of marriage just being a business arrangement. I get where that comes from because at the end of the day, there are the legal documents that come into play when it's time to separate. There are all of those things. But from a spiritual standpoint, for me personally, marriage feeds into that space. You can have your boyfriend, you can have your common law spouse if that's what it is that you want to have. I'm not here to judge, but there is a barrier for me that comes into play when you are talking about those spaces. Marriage creates the unity of both parties. It is the understanding of coming together to be one. If I'm in a relationship with somebody where we just rocking together for a certain amount of years, there is no understanding of us coming and joining together as one. There is no spiritual connection or dedication that comes with that. I mean, we could have all the agreements in the world, all of the sayings that this is what it's going to be, but at the end of the day, I get mad at you tomorrow, I'm out. And I'm keeping my own house because we're not married. There is no reason for me to leave my house that I'm in. No, you can't spend the night except for on Friday. You got to go home on Saturday. You can have a small top drawer. That is what that relationship is. I'm not dedicated to the space of 10 years. I'm not dedicated to the space of 5 years. And as somebody who watched their aunt who had a common law husband, she couldn't even plan that man's funeral. His family stepped in and swooped in and everything. It didn't matter how much she had in writing. None of that mattered. And she's in an area that recognizes common law. But if the family steps in and says something, no amount of paper that you have supersedes the fact that you ain't a wife. You ain't nothing. All she had was her one life insurance policy on him and a dozen memories, and she couldn't even go to the funeral to say goodbye.
Ooh,
Her mistake was she didn't have a living will
ooh.
or trust. Because if she did, she would have been able to do that. But people don't understand. You do not need a piece of paper from the state of Maryland to be able to do those things for the person that you've been spending umpteen years for. Now, what state is she in? Because I know I was talking to somebody about this, and I don't think Maryland recognizes common law marriage, if I'm not mistaken.
Maryland does not recognize
So,
common law.
It
She's
just,
in
yeah,
D.C.
not anymore.
D.C.
oh yes, DC
recognizes
does
common law.
recognize common law marriage. I'm a native
7 years,
Washingtonian.
and you, yeah, 7 years. So she's in an area. She had, like I said, documentation. But when it came down to actually planning his funeral, claiming body, all of that kind of stuff, none of that was in play. We literally watched it play out. Hospital that he went to was in Maryland. Maryland's position was it doesn't matter that you're a DC resident, you in Maryland, you gotta go because family said you gotta go. Like it was messy because of this. The only thing that she still had claim over because of the paperwork that was in play was his son. She still was able to retain custody of him with that. His, but personal effects and belongings, because again, those things were itemed out. But the other stuff, when you go before a court, the court is still going to recognize his family. That is what is going to supersede all of the rest of what we're talking about. The only thing that they're going to recognize is, yes, this says that you can obtain custody. She still had to go to court to fight for that, though. But the court recognized this is what this documentation says, all of those things. So, yeah, I mean, we could talk about the paperwork. I'm familiar with the living will and the trust. But when it boils down to it, the courts are still going to say the only thing we're going to recognize are these things. The rest of that what the family say.
Decquan, you
Is
up,
she on his
bro?
policy? Oh, go ahead. I'll answer these questions later.
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
I
if
was
you had
just
a follow
wondering.
up question, go ahead.
No, because I know half of the time when people are written as beneficiaries on policies, courts can't supersede that kind of stuff. There are definitely ways around the whole "we're not married" thing, but we get into all of that later as we get more, opinions from the fellow.
Yes, to answer your question. My auntie is smart in that regard. So, name was on account, stuff like that. But
account as in bank account?
Bank account, life insurance.
Yeah, see, some of that stuff is, yeah, it could go either way in DC with that. Only because I had a situation. All right. Sorry, Decquan. You up next.
No, I don't know either. I'm on the side of it's more like a piece of paper. Uh, I went to school for accountants, so I know the business aspect of it. Co-signer, two people trying to marry, about the bank accounts and all that. But I look at it as what does us going and having a wedding and getting married change about me and you? You know what I'm saying? We can get married, we'll go through the honeymoon phase, but our issues still there. Same bills, same jobs. They don't change much to me. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like it shouldn't take that piece of paper for you to understand that I'm committed to. A lot of people go, well, you don't want to marry me because you're not committed to me. I've been committed to you for all these years. Where am I going? I feel like it is a celebration, and I'm not against it. I'm actually engaged now, but I look at it as if we not right before we get married. Us getting married ain't gonna fix nothing. And a lot of people look at it that way. So that's just how I look at it. It can be beef.
Women aren't right before they get married. And it's like what I come to find is a lot of women want to just be married because again they want the wedding, they want the, dream, i.e. the house. Like I didn't have me and my husband weren't together in the fashion of engagement, pursuing marriage. We had never discussed marriage before he bought our home with just his name on it. I moved in with him because of course, like I said, I had no intentions of getting married. Like I said, I'm in DC. I was cool with the common law shit. I've seen enough bad marriages, and yes, people that are spiritually aligned, but was out here still doing whole shit. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, no, you in a church, you a whole deacon, and you out here cheating. How make it make sense? Like I'm not understanding this. So I get the whole spiritually aligned thing, but you don't need a piece of paper to say that you're spiritually aligned with someone. That is like a physicality that you come together with and emotionally establish what y'all connection is. And again, I mean, I did not want a wedding. Not Ree will tell you. Boy, went through hell and high water to make sure I ain't have to bust nobody in that. But will I say it was a great day? Yes. Will I do it again? Hell no. Was the $30,000 worth it? And that's subjective to me at this point. But was it what my husband wanted? Okay, I'm gonna give you what you want. Like you, Bridezilla over here, Groomzilla, more likely. You got it. You can do whatever you want. I'm gonna just show up, homeboy. And yeah, I will sit here and kindly say, after 20 years of therapy and such, it's like, yeah, we did not do this. Like, we could have just gone another way with this. But I feel like, and it's not just women. Let me just say that there are some men who literally just want to
Oh
be
no,
married.
no, not at all.
They feel like they gotta check the box. They don't even
Yep.
understand what marriage really means in the grand scheme of it. And I think, because of the both sides of it, like, oh, women just
I
want to
think
get
that's
married
just
because they
what
want
I
somebody
think
to
the
take care of
meaning
them.
of marriage.
So it's like, that's why a lot of men are like, you can miss me with that. And then there's some men that's like, I got something to prove as a man. So I'm gonna go ahead and do what's right. Like you just said, Daquan, you feel like it's not necessary. It's a piece of paper. But you're doing what? You're engaged to be married. So, I ask you, what made you want to get married? So but
I
now
think
I
it's
don't know. I
something that
mean,
she
you're
wanted
married as
too.
well.
So in this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, that's something she wanted to do, and I had no problem making that compromise. But we also had that talk about, the business side of it. You know, if we were to break up, which God forbid we do, who gets what? We got kids, so what's how we splitting that part up? So we definitely had that conversation, and she knows that it's not that I don't want to get married; it's just I don't see how it benefits us. That's all. So we definitely had that conversation, and it's still something I want to do. Definitely one of those things on the checklist, like you said.
Yep.
I think
Nah, no, I
that
get. Oh.
on my end, like I'm hearing with each.
Huh?
Ah.
Oh, you want to hear my
We got the
side?
Yeah, we want to hear your side, bro. You
Okay.
married.
No,
Like,
listen.
jump
I
in
was
there.
letting the conversation. I was letting the conversation flow. I was letting the
Yeah.
conversation flow. I'm practicing my moderator skills. You feel me?
Listen,
Um,
I'm bad at it. I'll jump in there with a question in a minute. Hold on, we can get back to it.
but I am more than paper. I am more than paper side. Um, for starters, as Tommy's uh, example proves, in a lot of situations, like PA definitely don't recognize common law. Um, they used to, but that went out of style a while ago. Um, so there's the protection aspect of it, right? Uh, Being as though she doesn't have to fight tooth and nail for everything. Yeah, there's certain stuff she's still going to have to go to court for, but for the most part, um, the average person isn't in possession or has a complete living will, if we're just being honest. The average person does not have a living will. We know too many black people that don't even have damn health and life insurance, okay? So, one of the things that the marriage does is it protects your family. A lot of that stuff already comes down to them, right? Your kids, your wife, a lot of that stuff comes down to them once you link this thing. Uh, Even in terms of paperwork, with these kids having your last name, things become a lot simpler in terms of being able to move paperwork around, right? That being the father of two kids, I realized that benefit as well. Um, and I will say that not just on the spiritual side, because the spiritual side is a good point. That's where the whole covenant thing comes in. And just to speak on it very briefly, you can't replicate that with any other level, right? Because though you can feel a way towards a person and they feel a way towards you, the whole purpose of marriage on the spiritual side is not that covenant just between y'all two. It's a covenant between y'all and God. So whether you want a justice of the peace it because you don't need the wedding, because I am pro wedding optional. I did it for my wife, like Quan said. The wedding was for my wife because I know it's what she really wanted. But the marriage was for me too. That's that lock in, that's that seal. So that handles my spiritual side of it. But it also handles my practical side. Because at the end of the day, being able to call somebody your wife, your husband, hits different. I don't care what nobody said. Y'all could y'all could joke me down to death, whoever see this, oh, so forth and so on, title. All right, man, eat a dick. Titles matter in this world.
They
Y'all could play
do.
like it don't, but it
They
do.
do.
Because guess what? When you go in that doctor's office, you don't call him Jamal. He's Doctor such and such. When you need your teeth pulled, you're not running to Sherry, who went to med school for a little bit. You need to go to the dentist, right? So these are, and you're not just going to any doctor for anything, right? You're going to go to the, orthopedist. You're going to go to the orthodontist. You're going to go to, the neurologist. These are also titles. If we can respect titles and appreciate titles in practical life for every single thing that we have to deal with, down to the cashier, you're not running up to the stock boy and saying, ring this up for me, please. You're going to somebody who got one of them little guns in Target or whatever, or you're going up to the front of the cashier. You're not going to go all the way to the
Gun.
back to the person loading the stuff off the truck and being like, yo, how much this cost? Titles come with job descriptions. Job descriptions are duties and responsibilities. Now, granted, anybody could take up responsibilities and duties, right? I could go in the store and see the stuff that's not folded properly and fold it up. I can. But is it my job to do? And I think that these things matter when we have to keep things in perspective, right? Because we need to realize, right? Like your boyfriend is not obligated to financially support you. Your girlfriend is not obligated to make sure that you're set at the end of the day. It would be nice. It's cool, and she should. But when we get to talking about these titles, that's where it's a totally different thing. Like she should, if she cares about you and that type of thing, and she has the opportunity, cool. Likewise, if you know your girlfriend is down on some bread and you got some bread, you should look out for her if you love her like that, right? Cool. But it's not mandatory. It's absolutely obligational. And I think that's where titles come into play. That's where marriage comes into play. It gives you that title, and these titles do come with expectations, which can be managed, but it certainly comes with duties and responsibilities, which should not be so tacked around. Listen, dad is a title, right? Mom, dad is a title. All these people who rock with the little kid, that's cool. But mom and dad, if they not handling stuff, you calling them what? A bad mom and dad, right? So I look at marriage the same way when it comes to that title that comes with that. It locks in the title. It says, yeah, I'm going to come work at this company and I'm taking on the job responsibilities that come with the title. Now, the fact that people keep not trying to play by the title, not play by the job description, and they just want the title, that's a different conversation altogether.
No, it's not. It's not. So you just use
It
the word
is,
obligation. So
absolutely use the
you
word
know there's
obligation.
people that
And I'm
get
gonna tell you
married
why
and
it's
don't
not a
feel like
different
there is the
conversation, right?
obligation. They don't feel like they're
Absolutely. Just
obligated
like
to
you
do anything.
people who sit here and be common law, and that's perfectly fine. They're wrong. That's the thing about it. They can feel how they want to. They're fucking wrong.
Wrong in
If I
whose
go to
respect?
a job,
But I
if
think
I
this
go
is
See,
to
but
a
nobody looks at
job,
marriage as a
I can
job. That's the
feel.
problem. Now we're getting into the point of it being a business.
that's what I was going to say.
Like if we're married, it's because we are
It's not
mutually
just a
aligned with
business.
one
Again,
another in an
it's
emotional way, and we
responsibilities.
want to be together forever. All that other shit we got working on the back end.
Like I
All these
but
job
like I
descriptions
said,
and duties and the titles and all of that. Maybe I don't want to be called your wife all the time. Maybe I want to be your woman. Like, so them title things, I keep telling people, titles don't mean shit. How you perform your job.
I disagree. Why do y'all again? Like I said, titles mean everything everywhere else, and all of a sudden, when it comes to you and a whole another human being having to deal with each other, now titles don't matter.
Well, I think that's where it comes down to the space of what you all said earlier, is that at the end of the day, a lot of people don't go into marriage ready to do the work. There is this notion
There you
that
go.
relationships, marriage, anything is not work. And a lot of people
And it
don't come
is.
to the table having real conversations. And I mean, in general, in your
Yeah,
relationship, you're not having real
agreed.
conversations because you like the way that person makes you feel in that moment.
Yep.
In marriage, people like the idea of marriage, what feels good, the thought of the big wedding, the nice dress, the party. But nobody goes into it with the understanding of these are the limitations. But that's not a slight on marriage. That's a slight on people. We spend more time not wanting to get to know our coworkers, our partners, our children in general. But that's a people thing.
Yes,
That's
it is.
not a this is a business arrangement versus this is a marriage. That's a people thing. We as people have gotten away from getting to know one another, getting to know boundaries, getting to know partners. How many of us have friends that you just be looking at like, how you not see all them red flags with that person you was dating? Like, we saw it. Did you see it? We saw it. Because in that moment, it was something that made them feel good. So when they take that into marriage, it doesn't go away. All them red flags were still there. We all
I
saw them.
understand.
Everybody. But the
Yeah.
problem is we don't spend enough time getting to know one another. But that doesn't mean, again, for me, that doesn't mean that marriage is less this sanctity, right? This space of, where we have to cherish it, mind it. It's me and you. These are our boundaries. These are our things. And we're going to continue to grow together with it. It doesn't change that, right? The sanctity of. But it does. I understand again why people think that it's a business arrangement because we bypass all of these other things. We bypass getting to know the people really on a seasonal level. One thing that my grandmother always said was dating was in season because it's 4 seasons. So you should be getting to know the person in each season because that's how you really get to know the people. A man dating me is going to know that at the end of the day, for real, you can't spend the night in my house long periods of time. I don't like it. Because what are we just boyfriend and girlfriend. There is no obligation for you to be in my space like that. It just isn't. And so I want you to go home. I don't care how long we've been together. You have to go home, baby. I know. For that very reason, right? But that's getting to know me. That's not going to change. Hell, that's something I gotta pray about in marriage. I kind of want my own house in marriage. I want us to
That's
be able to
something.
go in our
That's
separate
something.
spaces,
You
right?
gotta pay for that.
Listen,
You said
I'm,
you
I'm
got to fight for
prepared to
that.
do that without. But look, pray for me, y'all. Pray
Listen,
for me, y'all.
I am of the premise that we
So
sleeping in
with the
separate
title,
bedrooms because we don't sleep alike. Like, I like to sleep in a dark, cold bedroom, and you want to be hot with the TV on loud. No. And when we were dating, I got
see,
that, and I was cool with it for a while. But after a while, I wasn't so much on cool with it no more. So, nah, let's figure this out. And that's really what it's all about, right? Like, I can sit here and
Figuring it
honestly
out.
say I dated my husband for 3 years. Now, Reed went to college with this man. He knows this man very well. I was engaged to him for another 2 years. When I tell you, I thought I had an understanding of who this man was. Dating him for 3 years, living with him for 2, being engaged for 2. No, no understanding of who he really was because he didn't know who the fuck he really was. He's still figuring himself out starting 2 years ago. So for me, that's 10 years of wasted time because you really wasn't aware of what marriage really meant. Now, again, let's not misunderstand. I did not want to get married because I knew exactly what it meant to be married, down to those obligations and duties, the title, all that comes along with it, the work. I've seen a number of marriages, and I was like, that look like some shit I really ain't willing to do 24/7. I like my personal space, and
This is
and
my
all
question though. Why does it take marriage for those duties and obligations for someone you want to be with to happen? And that's why
That's
I
what I
feel
don't
like it's
understand because I was
and
performing
then
those duties and obligations before we got
mm-hmm,
married. So for me,
mm-hmm.
See, and
again, I forthrightly
so
say, hold
here's the
on,
thing.
that I never discussed the topic of marriage with him because it wasn't on my interest chart. I did not need that to know that you somebody I could probably spend the rest of my life with. And the minute that you're doing some shit that is not appeasing or pleasing to me, I can say this is no longer serving me
And
physically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally.
that is why marriage changes the game. Because
No, it
look,
doesn't,
You
because
still
you
do
got
that. You
people
can do
who
that
are
married.
married who still
let me
decide to do that.
hold on.
Unless
Let
you
me
are a couple
finish.
that has
Let me
decided divorce
finish.
is not on the table, then
Let
there are
me.
people that say, nigga, I'm out because this ain't working out.
You can
But
leave. You can always leave. But the difference is, and even how you both explain, divorce is a process. It is not
Yes.
you just deciding. You get
mm-hmm.
up, you go, and that's done. Whereas with a boyfriend and girlfriend, you can
Oh no,
literally
in Maryland it
just
is
get up.
now. In Maryland it is now. Apparently they have now changed it so you can do an absolute marriage. But it takes both parties to be present for one to file and the other has to be there to answer. So let's just say if I decide I want to divorce Arturo, if I go file, they will serve him. He can ignore those fucking papers as long as he wants.
But
Unless I
that's
say we going
but
together to file and answer.
but
And I think
again, that
about too.
changes.
Paperwork.
Okay,
I think
that's
Paperwork.
that's my point.
fine. That's fine. But that also changes the game because whereas you have to think about it because paperwork is involved. You need to think about these moves before you make them. Whereas
Facts.
you can make a permanent decision on a temporary emotion without the titles,
Them
without
type of
the
emotions don't be temporary for
paperwork.
me, baby.
But they be
Right.
temporary
So
for a lot
even if
of
you're
people.
moving off of
Yeah,
Like
emotion
Quan
people with no
said,
and
common sense.
no, like
right.
Quan said, I wanted to spend the rest of my life with you. I thought that 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that 2 years ago. I don't feel like that today.
Yeah,
But that's the thing too. Good when you're not married, you could just up and leave. But when
Right.
you're married, same feelings happen.
The
yeah.
And
feelings
now you
That's
got
what I'm
to go
saying.
through that process of, oh, I got to wait for the judge. And yeah, it's gonna make you rethink it. But how? And again, like you said, you got to get to know your partner, and it's a steady. You're working on it constantly. But now, what if it's no
But
return? You
but
still gotta
good
wait.
point, Quan. You
You
gotta be working with someone who's willing to do the
got
work.
to always. It's
You
nobody.
got people out here who don't understand the work that's required in marriage. Like,
or
And,
any type
let's
of
just be
relationship.
honest.
I was
Like
about to
I
say,
at
I'm
one
out
any
point
kind
had
of
my
like
husband
I
tell
said,
relationship.
that's a
me
people thing.
exactly. So it doesn't change just because you married. I literally had my husband tell me at one point, I don't know if I'm willing to do the work it takes to continue to be married. And I was like, cool. cool, because that's too much work for you. That's fine. But you should have understood what you were signing up for and wanting to be married. And that's why I say, yeah, we were doing all of this work up front. We went to couples counseling, and then we went to counseling at church. And he put on the great face. And then when he realized every day ain't sunshine and fucking rainbows, unicorns, and lollipops, then he's like, oh, this ain't what I want. You were warned. You just decided you was going to get what you wanted to get.
Yep. I think that go back to my original point where I said, why does it take marriage and that piece of paper to show that commitment that want to? It should be there before we get married.
No, it shouldn't. No, it shouldn't.
You don't think so?
I'm not obligated. I am not obligated. Listen, Decquan, we don't know each other, so I'm going to speed you up real quick on who I am. Listen, as a friend, I am ride or die. My friends know that if they call me and say somebody playing in their face, I'm riding out. And if you don't want me to ride out, don't tell me. My friends know that I'm going to dig deep. I'm going to cheer you on. It goes with my partners too, but I'm not obligated to do none of that shit for none of y'all. And the reality is that there is this expectation of people in relationships that I am required, especially as a woman, and I hate to separate this out, but for real, there is this idea that in women, we are supposed to be obligated to you all's emotions, to y'all stomachs, to y'all's dicks. Like, there is this idea of this obligation that I am supposed to give that to y'all. It just in a relationship. For me, I'm going to give you what I feel like I can. It doesn't mean that I don't love you. It doesn't mean that I'm not riding for you. But in my marriage, oh, that's a little deeper. I'm going to dig all the way deep. Baby, you got this. You can stand on that building 20 stories high and jump, and baby, you going to fly. Listen, I'm going to watch you fly. I saw them wings. You Superman, sweetie. You got this. Now, in my relationship and I ain't married to you, baby, I don't know that you should do that. I'm not coming up there with you. You know I'm scared of heights. It is a difference.
Why? But this is my question. Why does it take for the man or the woman, whoever, to say, will you marry me, for that to kick in?
It's not even that, but again, it is about how much I am investing in the person before they walk away with everything that I have given. See, in marriage, there is still a return. There is still a return on your investment. In a relationship, there is absolutely no return.
Somebody tell me what that ROI is, because I ain't got it yet. I need to understand what that ROI is, because I ain't received it yet. So,
shut up, yo.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand. Because here's the thing. Now, Reed will honestly tell you, I am one of those people like you, Tommy.
And I'm not wishing it on you.
If it was going to be done, it's been done by now, I would say. But nonetheless, I'm much like you. I'm a flat out, all out, ride out for anybody that I care about, right? And there were things that I was doing that would be somewhat of a marriage obligation and duties of a wife before getting married. And when we got married, then yes, there was even more of that. I dug even deeper. But there's no appreciation for that. So, for what? Like, yeah, I love you. I show that to you every day.
Again,
but you know what?
You
have to be with somebody who knows what their happiness is happy with themselves, and can be happy being with someone else. Or else any of that shit you're doing does not matter. And I don't even got to be married to you to understand that. Like, no one's responsible for my happiness. I have been who I am all my life. I have morals, principles, codes, and whatnot that I live by, and I do not flex from. And unfortunately, there are people out here that put on the face, they show you their representative, they pretend like that's how they move. Then later down the line, when the shit get real in the field, you learn, oh, nigga, you wasn't what you said you was. But again, it's because there's just this sheer want to do what the world says you're supposed to do. When people, and my problem with marriage is not marriage itself, because I will say, for all of the ups and downs, marriage has made me an even greater person than who I initially was. I learned so much about myself. I deal with people so much differently than I used to. I'm grateful for being married. But you ask my partner if that's the same response for him. it may be no.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't know what makes him happy. And you can't be married to a person like that. You can't even be committed to a person like that. So for me, it's like now, okay, so is it just a piece of paper? Because you don't want to do the work. You're not really sure what makes you happy. You're not sure how to make me happy. And you're not prioritizing me, but you expect me to prioritize you still. Where's the return on investment? I'm giving you my all. I'm digging deeper. Like, even when we was at our worst, I still would, and I will tell you, I was still very supportive. Oh, well, let me help you with that. Or how can I help you fix that? Or what can I do? What you need? Still cooking, still cleaning, because I knew as a wife, that's what I was supposed to do, right? But after a while, you get sick of that shit. When you know you're doing all of that for no reason. Because the person you with, that don't mean
But
shit
did
to
you
them.
hear what you just said? But did you hear what you just said? That you know as a wife, that's what you're supposed to do?
Yeah, me, yes, I do.
As a girlfriend, it's not.
Wait, but why though? Why?
But I was doing
I
it
think that's
before.
where my difference is.
I was doing it before.
That's
Arturo
so
was
true.
doing it.
But
But
why?
kindly tell you, I was doing it
Points.
before. We just didn't live together. I was like,
And that's
so
I'm
true.
doing some Tommy shit.
Plenty of women
You got to go home, my nigga. Like, you come over here on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We can pretend, and you got to go home again. Like, that's how it was. That's how it was. But
But
it was just
that's what I'm
innate
saying.
because that's how
You
I kind
guys
of was
were
raised,
not one
right?
at that point.
Hmm?
And that's the thing. That's because how you were as a person. That's because how
Yeah.
you're raised as a person. It has nothing to do with the actual level of what y'all had going on. Because at the end of at the meat of all these is partnerships, right?
Definitely.
Whether we talking about marriage, friendship, business, whatever, it's a partnership. You and this other entity. Different partnerships come with different levels of responsibility.
Indeed.
So you can go ahead and act like me and you doing this podcast. We partners, right? I could go
Yeah.
ahead and act like we gonna be doing this for the rest of our life if I want to. But when I get the news from you that yeah, player, the podcast season is over for me,
Yeah.
right? That's something I'm gonna have to accept, whether I like it or not. But as far as what we got going on right now, since we established as a partnership, there's certain things I can literally expect from you. In fact, better example. You on Two Kings versus you now. When I hit you up on Two Kings to be ready for an episode, I got to wait to see if you free. I got to wait to see if you available. I got to wait to see if you feel like it. When I hit you up for Life Be Life Ben, yo, we have a recording day. We have to put out content. And that is exactly how it is. How available did you make yourself for Two Kings 215? How available did you, hold on, you was the same person.
So I'm gonna prove your point. I'm gonna prove your point. I'm gonna prove your point because
you made yourself
no
super
different from
available.
2 Kings 215. I made myself super available and I do it
Absolutely.
now. And then even still, there are times where I've hit you like, Nari, I got female problems. Not today. And you are very accepting of that, right?
About incapabilities. We're not talking about your incapabilities and your unavailability.
See, it's the same thing because there are days in marriage where you're not capable of certain shit that you're supposed to be doing. Instead of just saying that, though, you pretend like you got it, and then when you don't, you take that shit out on your partner because you don't really know how you're supposed to move in marriage. Like, it's okay to say, today, I cannot cook, I cannot clean, I'm not doing the dishes, the laundry ain't happening, and fuck them kids. You got it, babe. But when you got a partner that's like, that is my job. Nigga, why do we got these motherfucking duties as assigned to motherfuckers in a marriage? Hey, babe, you're not feeling good today? I got you. See, that's the problem. Like, people are, wife does this, husband does this. No, listen, what can we come together and conjointly decide is a concerted effort to get.
But even if you have assigned duties, somebody
on time.
for somebody.
Say it again.
Even if you have assigned duties, somebody should be able to step in for somebody.
Shit.
Let's be honest.
Some of these men out here who don't think that some of these assigned duties should be assigned to them. Why I pay a cleaner $380 a month?
Who you talking to?
Listen, I know
You
you're
ain't talking
different
to me.
breed. I know you're a
You
different
ain't talking to
breed.
me.
You're a different breed, though. But ask
The
how many
only
men
one.
feel like that they're supposed to do the wifely duties.
I don't do no
Ask how
wifely
many
duty.
men think that
I
that's
don't do
their
no
job.
wifely duty.
Not really. There are times when
I
you
don't
have
do no
cooked.
wifely duties. But guess what? There's women. Hold on. But there's women who expect certain things of men, right? And that's supposed to be
You
husbandly
ask
duties.
women, oh,
We're
you
not gonna
gotta
act like
provide
there's duties on
monetarily
one
for
side
me.
and ain't duties on the other side. That's for you. However, I know one thing. That's because of the way you cut. I know the majority of women ain't expecting that they hear bump in the night, they gotta go downstairs and check. You squishy gangster, you the thug. You go ahead, take your shit downstairs, cock it, and check if he don't get up in time.
You still sleeping, my nigga. I got it.
That,
Again, but I'm different, and I understand that.
you feel me?
However, but we're going back to you.
Is my point.
How many times have you done things that most people would consider the wifely duty?
Again, the Decquan is part of the circle I'm in. We don't consider stuff like picking up your kids as wifely duties. We don't consider
No.
stuff like
No. That's not a wifely duty though. So most men consider wifely
That's
duties.
your kid.
That's your kid, right? Like, but
That's your
of
kid.
course, you got some men that's like, I'm not taking baby girl to ballet class. Why not, nigga? What's the problem? We agreed to put her in ballet. So because it's not basketball, it's a problem for you?
Oh,
You don't want to support your kid?
That's not
that's a whole that's not about
No,
wifely duties.
so that's not wifely, right? Again, but the cooking and cleaning, most men consider that wifely duties, right?
Cleaning. Quan, you cook?
damn near every day, bro. Yeah, every day.
Okay.
This is what I'm trying to say. So when you say for me to tell men, I'm literally part of a circle where these dudes do these things.
Now,
there may be certain
we have discussed this. You are part of a circle. Guess what? There are men that are in circles that don't feel like that's the shit they're supposed to do.
Again, but there's people in toxic circles. There's people who are misinformed
Toxic
on both.
circles?
No, for real. Because there's people that's misinformed. The same way there's men that's misinformed and have these toxic circles where the woman is supposed to do all this stuff and all you gotta do is work and bring home a check. There's women who think all they gotta do is occasionally suck and fuck, and he gotta handle everything else. And they gotta braid the little girl hair. They gotta do her hair.
Yeah.
They gotta make the little girl look cute. But everything else he's supposed to be responsible for, right? So we can't sit here and go at the lowest, the common denominator if we're gonna have these conversations about what's supposed to be the duties, what's supposed to be the obligations, because we can all agree people got it fucked up.
Because the common denominator is conversation.
Original thing of
Absolutely.
that takes us back to the original piece of everybody having the space of conversation of what it is that you need from your partner, what it is that they need from you. Because we can go around the gender norm circle until we blue in the face.
Yeah.
And the reality is those do not fit everybody.
Exactly.
I grew up with men who cook. And while I can cook, I cannot believe I'm saying this publicly because I like to live in my lie that I can't. While I can cook,
don't set yourself
up. Listen, don't come in my space. Nah, don't come in my space expecting it. My family don't even get my cooking no more.
Listen,
they
I saw a homeboy yesterday. So this is how you make stuffed peppers. Because someday you're gonna be doing the shit on your own. Because I ain't gonna feel like doing it.
Because that's the reality, right? Because I am used to coming in a space where my dad has cooked. That is the thing, right? So we can talk gender norms. We all have these gender norms, right? I have the gender norm that the man is supposed to cut the grass. Now,
Reed, is grass, trash, and gas.
Yep.
Afford me those comfortabilities. Right.
No, because also for me, a man is supposed to mop the floors because my grandfathers mopped floors. That was the thing, right?
You know, we're going a little too far there.
You see what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Like we be cleaning.
No. My grandfather scrubbed a floor. Listen, that linoleum was shiny.
The same way. And so is a lot of his friends because they were military, so they're used to cleaning the house.
I'm about to say they probably have certain trainings and backgrounds that lend to that.
But
my grandfather was a plumber.
And that's what I'm trying to say. The conversation, like Tommy said, the conversation about gender norms and wifely duties and husbandly duties is always going to be Twit's top seat.
Because it's based off of what you are coming from. But what it all boils down to, and I'm gonna say this, and please, I don't know your space, but what I will say is what I'm hearing, right? When I hear people talk about their partners that do flips and stuff like that, the reality is 9 times out of 20, that person wasn't whole within themselves. And so they sought somebody else out to fill the void that is within them. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times we don't sit with ourselves enough to get to know ourselves. Truth be told, if we talk to a lot of people, they don't like themselves.
Exactly.
And so they need other people to entertain them so they don't have to sit in their own mess and be like,
exactly.
I don't really like this about myself. Let me do hard work to do this, right? So sometimes those people end up in relationships and marriages to soothe the part of them that they don't like. That is what the reality is. That is that. That is also why they have kids, to fill that void in that space. But it doesn't remove baseline conversations that we have about what expectations are, what you are expecting, all of the things. But it also does not shift, like Nari said, it doesn't shift the space of, I am not, if we are just in a relationship, if we just shacking, as my grandma would say, if we just shacking, it is not my obligation to make sure that you are 100% whole, mind, body, and soul. I am not responsible for being that vested in you. There is no return, because once I get you to 100%, you can look at me and be like, all right, babe, that me up even. And be like, that was chill. I appreciate what you did for me. I'm in such a better space. I'm leaving. If I get married and I do that in my marriage, especially depending on where you live, right? We got to start talking about assets. We got to put assets on the table. We got to look at what was acquired in that marriage. That is where that return in my investment comes from. Or I might Angela Bassett you and, set the whole car on fire. Listen.
But every point we make, it end up back to that business aspect in between the marriage, the assets on return. What do we have as a couple, as a business together? Where you just said, like, I'm not sure I can put this. Or no, I have a question. Why don't you give your all to someone before you marry them? How do you know you want to marry them if you don't give them your all? And I feel like that's why a lot of marriages fall through. It's like, I like you enough to marry you, but I don't know if I want to give it my all until we try this.
And there is a difference between me deciding that you are someone that I can see giving my all. Like I said earlier, I may cheer you from the ground because I'm scared of heights, right? I'm terrified of heights. So I'm going to cheer you from the ground. Babe, I think you can do this. I think you can fly. Versus if I'm married to you, I'm going to be on the building at the back, though, because I'm scared of heights.
Why?
Cheering you on. Because, again, there is a different level of spiritual, emotional, time. All of those things are major investments in a marriage that I am then obligated to give. In my relationship where there is no investment, really. We can talk about business arrangement till we blue in the face. Yes, at the end of the day, does marriage come with legalities that represent a business? Absolutely. I don't know that anybody is going to say that it doesn't. It does. Like you said, the government be all up in your business. Government be in your business for child support. Government be in your business for your paycheck. Listen, government sends us all a statement.
The government be in your business as much as you make them in your business. And this is why marriage is government business.
I ain't asked for FICA to be in my business, and I see that motherfucker.
And they business. Listen, every time
I can send you something to read to it. We don't gotta pay taxes, but that's another topic for another day. But nonetheless,
not online though.
Yeah, not online. Not online. That's an online conversation, guys. But I said, listen. But I understand what you're saying, Tommy, but I also understand what you're saying, Decquan, because I was one of those people knowing that I didn't want to get married. I was with just my husband was the only person. Because before that, you niggas was anything. I wasn't. You come over, we can do what I want to do, and then you go home. We can go out. I'll meet you where we going. You can't come pick me up in my house. Like,
Okay, slut him out.
like, yeah, I was like, yeah, you was an anything. Like, I just wasn't with that. And my husband was different. Like, when I was just talking to Marie about this the other day. When I met him, he was a different type of dude. Like, I say it on the podcast. My father used to be like, why do you date these niggas? They are so below you. Like, they're not good enough. And I'm like, because they don't have expectations of me. They don't want anything from me as far as commitment. They don't have anything to offer me. I don't want anything from them because they're going to want something back from me. But meeting Arturo, it was different. It was like, okay, yeah, I mean, he actually finished high school and college, and he's in grad school, and like we have things in common, and like he's attractive, and oh, okay, well, let's see where this goes. I tell the story. I asked him, hey, look, so we've been kicking it for a while now. Like, so what are we doing here? I'm not ready for a girlfriend. Cool, say less. Back to the mess. He spun the block. And I was like, and my sister and my best friend, I remember them telling me, you hard on a nigga. It was that easy for you to just be like, all right, yes, because I don't keep nobody where they don't want to be kept. You say you're not prepared for a relationship, I'm not forcing you into it. Because Lord knows, I know the hard work it takes to really be in a seriously committed relationship. Every time I tried, I was like, nigga, goodbye. This ain't for me. Like, you're getting on my nerves, and I'm going to punch you in your mouth. So I knew I was destined to be alone, plus my abandonment issues, thanks to learning through therapy. I don't like disappointment. And that was my biggest fear in getting married. I did not want to be disappointed. And so it's like, okay, you think you know a person, they tell you what they want you to know about them. And as time goes on and you start having that commitment to this person, you start having that spiritual bonding with this person, you having those deepening conversations, shit happens to where y'all have to go to the next level about what's emotionally fucking with them. That's when you really learn who they are.
Yes.
And then what do? When you figure out, oh no, like I say this to my husband honestly, one of his biggest issues with me is I use the term, you hate me because you ain't me. I'm a sure of myself individual. Can't nobody move me. Can't nobody tell me what to do. I'm not easily swayed. I don't do anything because somebody else thinks it's a good thing for me to do. I'm quick to assess a situation based on what is good for me. Like I said, I have morals, codes, principles, standards, shit that I stand on. No one can make me waver. My husband isn't like that. And he, like, I can talk a nigga in a circle. You can't out talk me. I can sell water to a well. Like, my husband is not that kind of person. And it's almost like a jealousy thing because he wants to be that way, but he doesn't know how. So it causes a lot of like discontent between us because I stand on business and he does not. I can speak up for myself. He cannot. So it's like, all right, then I monitor how he was with his parents, communication style. Yeah, you weren't allowed to be communicative. My parents be like, say what you gotta say. You might get smacked in the mouth for it, but go ahead and say it. Get it out. He doesn't understand that kind of shit. So it's like, yeah, it started out good because you were giving me everything that you thought that I wanted because you wanted something from me. Then when you got what you wanted, you were no longer serving me the way you were supposed to. That's what marriage is. You are in service to someone.
That's a
You are
fact.
in service to someone. So what people hate is that, oh, now I'm married, I'm required to continue to serve you every day, regardless. No. I mean, like, so Decquan, my question to you is, you're deciding to get married. You've obviously been in service of your, spouse, partner, significant other for some time now. You, like me, agree that it's a piece of paper, but what is marriage going to change for you going forward?
That's the thing. Nothing. Again, it was for her, and we had this conversation. Us getting married won't make us happier. It might. I mean, for a little bit, we honeymoon phase, of
Cause
course.
y'all gonna be on a honeymoon phase, y'all gonna get y'all little wedding fun on, and y'all gonna dance and two-step, and then go on vacation and have a lot of balcony sex, and then y'all gonna come back home to the real world, and it's gonna be like, what's new?
Nothing. We're right back to where we were before we said. Now we can do stuff tax wise. Again, co-signing and all that because we're married.
Tax wise, let me tell you something. My husband and I make
Listen,
so much
I know.
money, we have to
I know.
Married, filing separately. So
Yep.
again, no return on investment for me. Me being married to you is not. Our arrangement is if we get divorced, I don't want anything from you. You keep your cars, I keep my cars. The only thing I expect is that you let me have this house. You relinquish your name off the mortgage. I will assume the loan, and you can get gone. Because you don't want to stay in this area anyway. You want to live in Virginia and pay personal property tax on every goddamn thing we own. Because you can have a bunch of guns unregistered. Have that life. I'm not with it. Huh?
Online.
Do y'all no, let's stop. Y'all need to start reading. In Virginia, you are allowed to open carry any weapon
You can.
without a license. So trust me, you know I know better. I'm from the hood, Kennedy Street, Uptown, 7th and Longfellow. I know about everybody getting rounded up on RICO. Just trust me. But Arturo wants to be living a Virginia life, and I don't. We don't agree on that kind of shit. I'm a city girl, literally and figuratively. Like, I don't want to be out in VA somewhere. I just don't.
Going back to Nari title point too, though. I wouldn't compare the husband-wife title to job title because
I wouldn't.
those are they're regulated. What your job is, what your title is, it's
You
regulated.
get paid for that financially.
Even without the money, still is regulated. And the marriage is social about how I feel towards you, with you, whatever.
No,
So
and see, that is the problem, is that we refuse to look at it along the same lines, and then we wonder why it's not working out, because we going off these feelings, how I feel about you,
who made the guidelines for what a marriage is and what it should be?
So, again, there's scriptural guidelines, right? Cool.
Mhm.
Now, you could, again, because we are all different people, the
Mhm.
guidelines is about what works for you two individually. That goes back to the conversation piece that we're mentioning, right?
Mhm.
The guidelines are going to come out of that. What I need from you, what you need from me. And these things will change and evolve, of course. But y'all set the guidelines. The problem is, if you're not looking at it like a job and you're looking at it like it's just how you feel, we're going to feel like not doing the shit at some point.
I don't that, and even still,
And when
even
we
with
feel like how she said, bro was like, I don't feel like doing the work.
Mhm.
So now, because you're going off your feelings as opposed to, I don't feel like doing the work, but I have to do the work to make this work. And that's why I compared it to the job, because we need that same focus that we have, because we know we need that check to be able to keep things going the way we want to live. Same thing with marriage. We know if we want this marriage to go the way we want it to, we need to put in the work, even on the days we don't feel like it. Now, of course, like Mish said, there's certain times you ain't going to be able to do X, Y, Z. Perfectly fine. But guess what? On those days, a lot of us outside of over communicators like Mish don't even feel like communicating that.
I think that's the problem. I think you just stated the whole problem with relationships and marriage. And even they said it. When they're in a relationship, they don't give it their all until they feel like they decide that that's the person I want to marry.
No,
If we do it,
that's not about feel like, that's about assessment. That's about
okay,
assessment. Because I could
still,
feel like I want to marry you, right? I could feel like
right,
I want to
right.
marry her. It's all these feelings. She makes me just feel like she's the one.
Mm-hmm.
But if I assess it, there we go, Mish. So if I assess it, I'm like, no, I can marry her. And as long as she says yes, this is going to go well, because boom, 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 boom. How she makes you feel is a great portion of it. And we're not going to act like feelings shouldn't matter. But it's the other things that show that it could be maintained. Even like how Mish said, unfortunately, people put forth their representatives, so things get skewed. But again, making an assessment based on who you have in front of you, their capabilities, what they do. I always say, go based off promise, not potential, because potential is what might happen. Promise is what is going to eventually happen anyway. Those kind of things.
Promise is janky too. Let's be
No.
clear about that.
Promise is who you gonna be. Promise is who you gonna be. I'm not talking about promises from people. I'm talking about promise as
I
who
know
you
what you
are
mean.
as a person.
Even
I know what you mean. Even that changes. Trust me.
Well, everything in people
let's use
change and
basketball.
evolve. Everything in people change and evolve.
Mm-hmm.
That's
If
that's exactly why I made that statement, because of basketball,
Or
right?
it's
You see the
sometimes people
potential,
not changing and evolving is why their promise doesn't come to fruition.
mhm.
But that
but
also
that's my
comes in the
promise. That's
space
back to
of
potential. That's back to
No,
who you. That's back to who they
that's people
could
stopping
be.
doing the work. That's people stopping doing the
And
work.
that's why you don't reach your potential. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Those are two different things. Potential is about who you could be with these factors. If you
Mm-hmm.
do this, if you do that, if you promise is when it's going to happen. It might take longer. Like if he gets with you, right? His promise might be that he's going to be a successful carpenter, right? If he gets with you, who understands business mind, who knows how to motivate him, instead of taking 15 years, he gets there in 5. He's going to get to that point at some point. You help him
But
get there faster. Potential is he might get there, yo. He just might. He has the ability, he has the talent, but only if. And when
how
it comes
many
to
times?
those only if, like we saying with sports, with who? If that
Mm-hmm.
guy, if that guy gets in the lab, then Andrew Wiggins is the Kobe comparison that they
Right.
had him out to be. If, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
promise of Andrew Wiggins is that he's going to be athletic, is that he's going to be fast, he's going to be bouncy, and he's going to score points. These were the things that are part of Andrew Wiggins, period. And it
But
is
wait,
him. But he never
But
but
that's
lived
wait,
up to the
people. But
Kobe
that's like him.
potential.
but
So it
wait,
goes back to
Ray.
people resting on their laurels. They know what their promise is. They know what they're good at and they can do.
No,
They
he
don't
knew
want to
what
do
his
anything beyond that. They don't
potential.
want to progress beyond
That's
that.
the same
Yes,
potential.
that was his
He's
potential. That was his potential to be that. The
Ray,
promise is
even
things that nobody else
the,
can affect.
the promise is still of the feelings though, because you can feel that that's his promise. I could have felt back in his college days that like, nah, he ain't gonna be that athletic. You know what I'm saying? It's still going to feelings. You know what I'm saying? Like it's different for each person.
I
Everybody's
don't
going
think it
to
has
feel.
anything to do with feelings.
People gotta want it for themselves. And sometimes that's
Now
what
that's
happens.
true.
They don't want it for
That's true.
themselves.
That is
The
true.
promise or the
well,
potential. They know what they're capable of. They can go do it, go get it. They know what the potential is, especially when you get with somebody that can help you level up. But they don't want to get to it because of
That's
the
a
but
fact.
work
all of
that's
that is
involved in it.
potential. All of that is
Oh, let's
potential.
see.
Yes.
The
Exactly.
promise
So
is
now
what you
we break it down.
actually
It's all about potential.
actualize.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The promise is what you actually actualize. The promise is what I'm actually walking in and doing. And
Yes.
that is
So
the
for
thing.
some
Who I
people,
am.
the promise is I actualize the marriage. The potential is it can get greater from here. People say, I got the marriage. That's it. I'm gonna get this woman to cook and clean and suck and fuck every day, and I'm gonna be a husband and pay the bills. Yeah,
But
that
that's
wasn't
not
y'all
realistic.
agreement.
I was gonna say, but that's not realistic because, like, we all agree on is that at the end of the day, we all evolve as people. Who I was
No,
at
we
18,
unfortunately don't.
no, a lot of
Everybody
us
does
do.
not evolve.
A
You
lot of
got
us do.
75% of the world does.
Who we were at 18, even the ones that ain't shit. Who they were at 18 is not who they are at 32. Now, don't get me wrong, they still ain't shit. We can all agree that they may still be ain't shit, but they ain't
They
shit.
even more ain't
18-year-old ain't shit. Right. It's
Nah.
32 evolved ain't shit. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's worse. That ain't
They
better.
might have stole your car at 18, but at 32, they ain't shit is a whole nother level because they've learned how to master their craft of ain't shit. So either way, we're evolving. Be it ain't shit or decent fucking human
let me
beings.
rephrase
We
it.
evolving.
People are not evolving for better. People are
Now
not changing for better.
It's a totally
that's the
different
thing.
story. That's a fact.
Yeah.
We're not going to argue that.
Not
My only
everybody
point is
evolves
that
for
at
the
the
better.
end of the day, is we're all ever changing. We are
Yes.
all changing, be it for the good or bad. We are all
Right.
changing.
And I agree with that.
It is unrealistic to think that in a marriage, in a relationship, you are not going to change. Who you married 10 years ago may change in the context of they are still stagnant in what you thought their potential was. But that is the thing, right? A lot of times we move in spaces of people's potential.
Camera
We're not
sideways.
looking at
I know. I got to.
All right.
we're not looking at who they actually are, right? What they actually have shown us, which is why our grandmothers have told us, well, my grandmother specifically has said, baby, don't marry him for his potential, because potential doesn't mean anything,
Yeah,
right?
I'll marry him.
And my grandmother's rough because she'd be like, I married your grandfather for potential and look at where we are. So, and I love my grandfather. That man was, but she knows something I don't know. That she was married to that man, right?
Exactly.
So we marry, we like people, especially as women, because women we see what we can, cheer them on to be. We see it. It's the blueprint and we can guide it out. But none of that has to do with what they actually actualize for us. So when Decquan asked me about why does it take me to be married before I'm full in on the investment, this is what the reality is. I very much can know that I am willing to give somebody my all. That does not mean that I want to, in my dating space, and it's not going anywhere, give that person my all. Because I might just be looking at their potential and not what they're actually actualizing to be. If I give you 10 ideas on what I'm listening to you tell me your dreams and goals are, and listen, my ideas be solid because I'll give you a whole map out of what you should do.
That's me.
And you don't do nothing with it,
I ain't giving you no more
baby,
damn
what
ideas.
are we doing?
Yeah.
That all that is potential. And so no, I'm not about to give you my 100%. There is no return on that.
Mm-hmm.
The return is me watching you go date Betty Sue down the street who don't even know how to fry chicken. And you just took everything that I gave you to her and I watched you build an empire, right?
I mean, that happens in marriage though. Like when people get divorced, they go be better for the next person.
It does. I'm not here to dispute that. What I'm saying is with marriage, there is still a different level of return in the end. Because there was something in the space of marriage that created, a different kind of bond. Versus in a relationship, there is nothing other than conversation. Maybe he bought you a Michael Kors bag. I don't know. But my future husband that's looking at this, please don't buy me a Michael Kors bag. But I'm just saying, that is what it is. That is the difference between if we are in a relationship versus if we are in marriage. It is that different space of what we are investing. So I agree with Nari. A lot of people are in the space of potential versus promise. And that's where, again, the lack of communication, the lack of paying attention and assessing what that person is actually going to do, those are all very real things. And we can bust this down to, at the end of the day, me having the government in my business versus me, wholly investing in the person that I see my future with, the person I see me bringing kids in this world with, the person I see me encouraging whatever our dreams are, be it separately or together, our growth in space, right? But it's also the person that I see when times are hard and all I can give is 20% and they got 80, they pouring into me with whatever it is that we are missing in that space. In my darkest spaces, they're praying with me. In the space of uncertainty, they got me. That's my handhold. That's my foundation. That is what all comes from that investment of marriage. It is all of that combined. If I'm just dating Joe Blow, he may rock with me hard. But when I'm at 20 and he at 100%, he might very well be like, all right, shorty, you gonna be straight. It's, you strong, you got this. There is not that same. We're not talking about, listen,
I'm just saying, if
some people don't do it.
Okay, they are wrong, but the point is, it doesn't matter whether you're married or not, it happens. And but I agree with you, Tommy. The person that you're with, they gotta be the homie. Like I tell my husband this all the time, like, you gotta be my number one fan. You gotta be on my dick 24/7. Like, ain't nobody better than me. I'm the end all be all. Like, you my best friend. Like, you love me more than fat kid love cake.
Nobody come to me.
Exactly, because nobody
come to me and tell me some shit about you that I don't already know, or that I ain't gonna be like, who the fuck you talking about, kind of thing.
Right.
Be established before the marriage, and that's my point the whole time. Like,
exactly.
So I'm gonna use me and my fiance as a good example. I've known her since I was 13. We've been friends throughout the entire time. We just got together 3 years ago. Before we got together, we had a 4-day long conversation. about first I had kids before, so I was like, if you can't treat my kids like they're your own, it's not gonna work. That's the start. Then expectations. We both laid out our expectation. This is just for the relationship, and I feel
Right.
like this is what's missing in today's dating. Like
Yes.
this stuff is brought up front, and if I feel like if it is, we wouldn't have so many failed marriages, and we probably wouldn't even have that many marriages because if we already got all that established, and that's how we already feel about each other, what are we getting married for? What is the real purpose of it? Besides, like you said, the spiritual part. We felt the spiritual connection without being married. Like we at this point we're both doing it just to do it because it's something to do, something that we wouldn't mind doing. We don't need to get married. We walk around and call each other husband and wife anyway. Going back to your title, husband and wife is one of those titles that it's how the individual takes it. People on the outside just gonna go, oh, they're married, they like and talk whatever they're going to talk. But to you and your partner, y'all determine what that title means in your relationship. So that's why I was asking Nari, like, who made the guidelines? Because it's going to be different for everybody, what you said, but everybody looks at marriage different. So for like me and my fiance, we don't need to get married. We do everything that husband and wife stuff is supposed to be now without being married. And that's what was my point in the very beginning. Is why does it take that commitment for that part to come out? Where you should already have that before
And
the
there
marriage.
people that thought me and Art was married before we got married. Like they like, oh, y'all not married? And I was like, nope, we're not married.
Yeah.
I mean, but you got people out here. You got married women that don't want to fix their husband to play. Like I'm trying to figure this all out. Like,
but again, they didn't have that talk beforehand, or maybe they did, and he don't mind her not making the plea.
No, they had to talk, and sometimes women just be defiant in marriage because they want what they want. They don't want to give what you. It's a give and take, right? You know,
it's like with every partnership. There's stuff
exactly.
That
I'm about to say, like with every partnership, it's a give and take, and if you don't have the conversation, because I always tell Art, I made the mistake of having the mindset of never getting married. So when we moved in together, it was like, I don't want to say roommate-ish, but you know, it was just like, okay, 50-50, we living together, da-da-da. And then when the engagement piece came, I didn't have the conversation about, okay, so this dynamic is changing. The expectations are shifting. We need to figure out where we go from here. I unfortunately made the assumption that he knew what marriage looked like. He was going to lead in that, and I would follow like a wife was supposed to do. But then when I realized I was being laid to hell, I was like, oh, no, stop here. Time out. This ain't working. Like, we got to recalibrate and figure this out. But by then, it was too late because in his mind, standards and expectations was already set, and it wasn't no coming back from that. And that was my fault because the conversation wasn't had, because I was like, oh, based on who you're showing me, I'm trusting you. It just doesn't work like that. Like, and I feel like that's another reason why marriages be failing, because again, upfront conversation.
Communication rules all, no matter what it is.
And then people be having secret expectations, and we've talked about this before on the pod, but it's just a lot that goes into it, and it's just it can be very messy, unfortunately.
It can.
Is it secret expectations, or is it the expectation of not wanting to talk about it for fear or shame? I'm asking. Like,
I think it's secret expectations. People really think in their mind, like, secretly, you should know that this is an expectation.
There it is.
Like, and they don't feel like they have to express it, especially like when it comes to communication. Like, a motherfucker might be like, I expect somebody to text me when they get home. But no, maybe somebody don't feel like they need to text you that I'm home safe. So it's like, hey, text me when you get home. That's my expectation, kind of thing. Like, let me know if you're running late. Let me know if something changed and what we had planned don't work out. Like, people's communication skills are different. People's expectations, vary. People's standards on how they operate vary. And sometimes people will operate in those parameters to appease you, knowing it don't work for them. And they just going to do what they got to do to get you where they want you. And then they're going to stop doing all of that shit. Because you ain't really made it clear. So it's like, well, you never really say it. I just assume. Okay.
Right, so we going to wrap this not festive, but this very fruitful, in my opinion, conversation up. This very lively conversation up. Simply for, time regulation, because we let this go. We mess around, be here for another at least 20.
It's been good conversation from everybody.
Stuff that we didn't really even touch on. But I absolutely appreciate my guests Mr. Decquan Freeman, Miss
Yes.
Tommy. I appreciate both of y'all coming through, making this
Yes.
happen the way it did.
Now, Reed might have to
So
shoot me your info, Tommy, since you in the MD area. Maybe we can link.
I know. When you said Kennedy Street, I was like, oh.
See, everybody knows it's a little
Wait,
rough up that jump.
Not even rough. So look, I'm southeast, you uptown. You already know how that goes.
I do. Like, listen, I tell people, like, I'm uptown bound, please. I don't do nothing on the south side.
I think I lost. There you go.
Technical difficulties over there now.
no, I don't know why I joined this first, but all right. So usually I try to give everybody a last thing to say if they got something important. Do y'all have anything important that y'all need to announce to the audience that y'all need people to pay attention to?
Remember, don't buy me a Michael Kors bag.
For sure.
Do not.
Use your husband. Pay attention.
I do. Communicate. You gotta talk to your partner, no matter what stage of relationship.
That's a
Communicate.
fact. For sure. I appreciate both of y'all once again, man. This has been the Life Be Life podcast on behalf of my brother A.C.E. Our brother is who he always be. On behalf of our sponsor, Keish with the Cakes, the owner of Simply the Shea Catering. On behalf of Tomii Decquan, Big Mish, and on behalf of your favorite coach's favorite coach, be smart, be respectful, be patient with everybody. That includes yourself. Be safe and stay dangerous, folks. Be kind to as many people as you possibly can. I know people make it impossible. Don't worry about them. Just be kind to who you can. But most importantly, every single day, be kind to yourselves. Whether you was here for 5, 55, or however long this joint go, we appreciate you for tapping in. Come on back if it was your first time. If you're a regular, we appreciate you just the same, man. We love y'all. We appreciate everybody. Y'all go ahead and have a good night. We finna get up out of here. All right.